Sorry, I'm a little chatty.
Podcast. Big Curve. Big Curve Podcast.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Big Curve Podcast. I am Jeff, and sitting next to me is my co-host Trampas. What's up, dude?
What's happening, man?
So much has happened. This is episode number 3, and we're going to do episode number 3.5 exclusively on Mixcloud, which will have all the music that we talked about on today's show. So, it's been a couple weeks since we put up a show, and I'm not 100% sure, but pretty sure at our last podcast, one of us gave another one COVID or something because...
Do you think?
I don't know, but we both got it like 4 and 6 days afterwards.
Right.
So, yeah, we both just went through that bullshit.
Yeah, because I was thinking I got it at Lito's Pizza.
You probably did.
Yeah. Because I ordered a pizza. They messed up my order, so I had to like kind of sit in the restaurant for a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
It was like probably like 5 days after that I started feeling sick.
Oh, yeah, and I was...
But they gave me a free medium pizza.
Oh, there you go.
Messing my order up.
the free COVID deal. Yeah, we'll give you a free pizza and COVID. Yeah. I mean, I was also at Capital One Arena a few days before the last show too.
Right. Yeah.
But I was one of the only people there wearing a mask.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, wow.
Nobody was.
Wow, Colleen and I are going to a show in DC next week. That's crazy. Well,
because the third member of Big Curve, Tim. He got it, and he's pretty sure it's from the Capital One Arena.
Really?
He went to the Raid show, and like a week later, he was like,
"Oh man!"
He got it bad.
Oh really?
Yeah, he got it really bad.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
I pretty much I slept on that couch right there for about 5 or 6 days. It didn't go away as quick as I wanted it to. But the first couple days, man, I was just a lot of pain, like just a lot of body aches and shit, like the kind you get when you get the flu, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was so tired that I just slept it off.
My main thing is I was like mostly tired and a little bit of a cough.
Yeah, same here. It wasn't that bad. I had like, I mean, I'm sure that's because of all the stupid shots and all the stuff that I've gotten.
I'm vaxxed, double boosted.
Yeah,
I take vitamins every day.
Yeah. So, but it's still like, you got to be isolated, and you don't go into work, and it's a whole thing. So it really set me back, and I'd say it's been about 2 weeks or so, and I'm still tired as hell every day, man. I get to that point in the middle of the day where like I could really use a nap right now,
right.
And the nap never does anything. I still feel like
I used to get up in the middle of the night. I don't do that much anymore.
Yeah, sleeping right through.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, anyways, that's why we haven't gotten together for a show in a little bit of time. But also during that time, so much stuff has come up. So, I think I explained a little bit on the first episode that myself and Trampas, we were doing, podcasts back before they were called podcasts, way back in the late 90s. Right. It was internet radio.
Yeah.
I don't even think streaming was even a word. Like, it wasn't...
You had to listen to it through a real player. Remember
yes.
that?
Or what was the other one? There was a real player and the Wave. What was that other one?
I can't remember.
Winamp.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, real player was like really advanced, and they started to do the streaming and stuff like that. I mean, that was like around the time, I think. Who was it? It was one of those billionaire guys, Mark Cuban. I think he was one of the ones who got together with some tech guys and came up with broadcasting sports live over the internet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I think that it was him and all of his college buddies talking about how they couldn't listen to or watch college basketball games from around the country. You could only watch what was being broadcast where you are. Yeah. And they decided, if I'm not mistaken, I think they came up with like radio.com or something.
Really?
Yeah, or something, and they were the first ones to develop that.
Really? Well, first time I experienced like that kind of thing was Yahoo had a thing where anyone could just talk over, like if you had a headset mic. Right. Like you could just log into Yahoo and then just do all your talking. Then they even had like a soundboard where you could have sound effects and things like that.
How come we didn't know? How come we weren't using that when we did our show?
Man, I don't remember it lasting very long at all.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of issues with all that, and especially when I was doing podcasts in the mid 2000s, there was all these like Live 365. There was all these, because social media was just starting to get really big too.
Right.
There was no Periscope. There was no any of that kind of stuff yet. So
I think moderation was a big issue too, because people would just get on and say crazy shit.
Well, I mean, that's what the very beginning of Facebook Live. It's like everybody was just, I'm live. Look at me. I'm standing in front of this restaurant. I'm live. And then, you'd get notifications from like hundreds of people that were going live, and you look and they're just like showing you their backyard and their, whatever.
Right.
It was just a really weird developed thing. I think now I think they're starting to get it pretty good. I think that Facebook, it's still weird that like Facebook Watch is like, wait, they actually have shows on there that are exclusively on Facebook Watch. And I'm going, I don't get it. I mean, it was the same thing with YouTube too. And
I know it's big with like MLMs to like do Facebook shows, like sell like, I don't know, whatever it is, or their essential oil or whatever.
Yeah. All of that kind of stuff. It's really strange. And, but so here we are, dare I say, veterans of talking into the microphone and having it go out over the internet, whether it was to 5 people or 5,000 or 5 million. We'll never know. Because as they say,
more along the lines of 5.
I know, as they say, this is the biggest hurricane in recorded history. Well, I mean, I could tell you we had 5 million listeners to that show, and there's no record of it.
Right.
I think there's some burned CD copies of shows probably in a desk drawer of yours or something somewhere.
Honestly, I think I threw a lot of them out.
Well, it's on the internet. It's forever.
Right, yeah. Go to the way back archive.
Well, back then there wasn't the cloud, so like unless you wanted to have all these giant hard drives, zip drives. So anyways, we came to notice from the last show, surprisingly, through some of the streaming services and some of the stuff we use, we get a lot of data back. And we actually, the last show made it onto a couple different charts on our Mixcloud, which surprised the shit out of me.
That's crazy.
The idea of this podcast was pretty much to talk to people who are fans or consumers of Big Curve music, to talk to the fans and the bands and all the people out there through that. But it seems like there's other people that are discovering us. There's one of my bands right now, and I gotta silence the computer because it's running into the thing here. Oh, I'm gonna turn that down. That's one of the bands right there. Anyways, so I wanted to, it was my intention, like I said, and so now I'm kind of like, well, people that are listening to this just fresh off the clicking on hashtags thing on Mixcloud, like who are these guys and why are they talking about Zappa? So my name's Jeff. Big Curve Podcast is a division, I guess, or whatever, from Big Curve Music, which is a record label right here out of Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. All the bands and artists on the label are all from that area, mostly Baltimore and D.C., and yeah, so we were going to be talking about some of that kind of stuff and, and getting the news out there and different things about live shows coming up and records coming out. And then it turned into a little more than that, and we had some more topical stuff. Trampas came in to be my right hand here on the show, so things changed a little bit. So Big Curve Music is my label, along with my partner Tim. And we also have a company called Jammy Jams that does lullaby music, and Trampas has been a part of that as well. I also am in one of the Big Curve bands. I play drums for American Jetset. So that is who I am. I'm also, I got some kids and a wife and stuff like that too. So, my man Trav here, I think we met like almost 30 years ago because our bands are playing together.
More than 30 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. Like 32 years.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Whew, 32 years. We're classic.
Yeah.
If we would have put out a song then, we'd be on classic rock radio stations. Isn't that fucking crazy?
That is.
I mean, they're playing like 90s alternative music on classic rock stations. Right.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
It is. Like this September will be my 52nd birthday.
Yeah.
And that means I'll be older than Wilford Brimley was in the movie Cocoon.
Ooh, older than Pat Morita was in the first Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than Rue McClanahan in The Golden Girls.
Yep. What about Mrs. Garrett?
I don't know how old she was.
We got to find out.
Yeah.
Red Fox was also incredibly young.
No way.
Dude. We'll check it during the show. I think he was like in his 50s or in his early 50s when Sanford and Son was out.
Man, old people were old.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you think about it, all of the Golden Girls were in their 50s when that show came out.
Oh, no way.
Guaranteed.
I don't know about that.
All right, who was the oldest one?
Estelle Getty? There was no way.
Estelle Getty was younger than the others. They dressed her up to be older.
That's right. She was younger than B. Arthur.
So B. Arthur was let's use her as the measurement. To what? Let's see. I just got a text to check my wife into one of her flights, and instead of going to Wikipedia, I just put in BWI. That's what was in my head. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So Golden Girls was like what, like 88 when it first come on? I guess we're going to have to find out a couple things here. But B. Arthur, she was also in, what was it, History of the World Part 1?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
That's all I know.
Artist. Yeah.
All right, B. Arthur. All right, she was born in 22. So if she was born in 22, in 80, okay, her early 60s, and she was the oldest. So let's see. Golden Girls started in 85, so she was 62. 62. So I guess that, and Betty White was about to be 100, right? And she died like the last days of last year.
Yeah.
And so that would have been 1922 as well, right?
Yeah.
What was that other? Rue McClanahan? Yeah. I got to get one of these to be right so I don't feel like a complete asshole. 1934. Okay, so she was 48. Wait, hold on a second.
She was 51.
She was if she was born in 1934, in 1985 she was 51.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your age.
Yeah.
Rue McClanahan. Blanche. Blanche was your age.
Yeah.
Dude, that right there. Oh man. It makes you feel, I don't know, man. The Pat Morita thing always really freaked me out. That he was 50 as Mr. Miyagi in that first movie. That really, but okay, there you go again. Oh, dude. Red Fox, 1922. Okay? 1922, which would put him at 100 years old now. But when was Sanford and Son on?
That was in the 70s. So,
right.
Yeah.
So
he was in his 40s. Wow.
So Sanford and Son started in 1972.
Oh, my God.
He was 50. He was 50 years old. From 1922 to 1972.
Yeah.
When that first season aired, he was 2 years younger than you. Oh, God. Lamont, you big dummy. Wow, that is crazy. We need to get off that subject. Yeah. I'm just going to get fucking depressed. But that kind of leads me into a couple of things I wanted to talk about on today's show. And then we're going to get into a lot of the stuff going on with the Big Curve bands. Actually, let's get that. Let's talk about that first with these Big Curve bands, and then we'll get to today's topic. The first thing I wanted to talk about is back in June, right around the time, actually right after our very first episode, we released Landis Harry Larry's solo albums.
Great.
So with Landis, it's really hard thing to explain for someone who has no idea what we're talking about. Landis Expandus has been in the Baltimore music scene for at least 30-some years.
For as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I
remember hearing radio ads about
Almighty Senators. Yeah.
And you get a copy of Maryland Musician, you'd see Almighty Senators.
Yeah, and I think the story is, I think in the 80s, he went to Micah. I think he's from like the New Hampshire or like somewhere in New England or something.
Oh,
I think, really? I think he's from further up north, and I think he came down. I think he came down in the mid '80s or something, and went to go to Micah, Maryland Institute College for Arts. Did I get that right? Is that all the MIC? Yeah, and I think that's where he met other artists from Baltimore and musicians, and started the Almighty Senators. But Almighty Senators are still around. He had so many bands, even back when, in the Memory Lane days in Baltimore, early to mid 90s. He had a band called Flow. You were in a band with him called Dugan. which I was talking to him about it yesterday, and I didn't know that Mudshark was in the band too.
Yeah.
He said that the two of you had some heavy fucking riffs. He said it was like
Mark.
He said it was the heaviest shit that he'd ever played.
Dude, Mark would come up with riffs, and I would ask him, like, dude, how did you come up with that riff? Because it would be like if you're a guitar player, like he was like skipping strings, and like it was just weird. Just these weird, wild riffs, and I would be like, dude, this is awesome. I wish we could have recorded in that band. I really do.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. So we're going to skip a little bit here just for a second. Mark, who we're talking about, he's also Nova Koloso, who are on our the record label, Big Curve Music. And it's kind of like, I don't want to call it straight up stoner rock because it's not, but it definitely has the grooves of stoner rock. And he's got kind of...
a big Queens fan, I know.
Yeah. It's exactly, and that kind of stuff, and has even some clutchy riffs here and there. But there's also some synth in it a little bit, and it gets spacey and stuff. So it was difficult to promote because I never knew what genre to call it. But right after we put out that record, did you hear his cover of Supernaut?
Yes.
Black's shit.
Yeah.
I mean, just fantastic. And then Nova Koloso just recorded their next record, and I got to hear like the unmixed tracks. Holy shit! It is really good and really heavy.
Awesome! I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. So you were in that band with Landis. I worked with Landis through a lot of the 2000s doing DJ gigs and karaoke stuff.
Right.
He's just a Baltimore fixture.
Absolutely.
And I think that from like maybe 2005 until 2019, he was like a big time, not big time, but like a big DJ in Baltimore. Like he was playing a lot of clubs.
Right.
And it wasn't the typical DJ parties. He was playing, funk and soul and dance music and indie, and just he was just a very unique killer DJ to go see live. And then when the pandemic hit, like he couldn't work anymore.
Right.
I mean, he'd been doing that, for a living for a good 10, 15 years. He was DJing 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, sometimes 2 gigs in a day, and it just went completely away. So,
what a nightmare.
Yeah, and so he taught himself how to do crazy shit on camera. Like he learned, the green screens and the cloning yourself, and he learned all that stuff. So he started making these videos during the early, very early lockdown, the pandemic, when like the whole world was locked down.
Right.
And he was writing these crazy songs, and there was 3 of him on screen, all wearing different outfits. So he named them Harry and Larry.
Well, another thing he was doing he was like doing these great painting shows.
Oh yeah. All right, yeah. So that was okay. So he created Landis Harry Larry and started coming up with these really weird songs. At the very beginning, most of them were about the pandemic and politics because, when the pandemic first came out and everybody was on lockdown, Trump was still president, right? And you had all that shit going on. And then you had the pandemic. Everybody's locked down. He couldn't work anymore. So there was a lot. I mean, he wrote it was like almost a new video every day, at least a new song every day. He was putting out or at least 1 or 2 a week, at least. And then, like Trampas was saying, he also did like a Bob Ross style painting show, and he would do it live on Facebook and YouTube, and it was really cool because the people that were in the chat or who were watching live would just throw out suggestions. Yeah. It was kind of like a Whose Line Is It Anyway improv thing.
Right.
And they're like, well, why isn't the dragon holding a box of Lucky Charms?
Right, yeah, they were just thinking the craziest stuff.
And while he's doing it, everybody who was watching, or if they wanted to, they were also doing their idea of the painting.
Right.
And then when the show was over, you could go onto the Facebook page and he would put up all the art and everything. And I thought that was really cool. He didn't do that very long, but he did do it live one time out in front of a crowd.
Oh, did he really?
I think they did it in like the back lot of the Auto Bar or something.
Oh, wow.
And it was like bring your own art supplies, and he just stood up in front of a group. This was like when people were still really separated out.
Right.
And they had these like tables and, and he did it live. And I don't think that one was videotaped. I think it was just for the people that were there.
I wonder if he could, because you know how people have paint nights. He should do that,
dude. But he's so limited because the other thing I was going to say is he had a really he got really sick in like the mid to late 2000s, and he had a big medical procedure done, which put him now into high risk.
Oh.
So he...
Because I'd go to a Landis paint night.
Oh, yeah,
awesome.
dude. So much fun, right? And so he can't... It's, you know, if you're high risk, you know, he can't be in nightclubs. He can't... So he's only playing outdoor gigs. Like, he hasn't played indoors since. Like, tonight he's doing an outdoor DJ gig. He's put together the Landis Harry Larry band to play those songs live. But, yeah, he still can't gig. So right now he's, you know, depending on people buying his music and buying his art. He's selling a lot of art now. But, you know, that's what's paying the rent right now with that kind of stuff. Because when you can't, when your whole livelihood is, you know, it's like all those people that, you know, worked in restaurants that couldn't work for a couple months when everything was shut down. And then it was really limited for a while with carryout and everything. He hasn't been able to work at all. Like, it was really sucky. So he did all those songs with Landis Harry Larry. We put out his first album, The Story of Bunch, in like May-ish, Marches, spring of 2021. 1 year later, he puts out 3 more albums. So I think that every album has 13 tracks. So that's 4 albums with 13 tracks. It's 40, 50. Yeah, that's a lot of music.
That is
a lot of music.
Yeah.
So and it's all way out there. I mean, if you know Landis, you wouldn't be surprised by any of it.
Right.
But if you haven't, it's some crazy shit. It really is, man. And he went all out on this one. Yeah. I mean, there's songs that you would have thought were from like Yo Gabba Gabba or Sesame Street.
Right.
And then there's songs on there that are really dark. Really dark. So it's pretty awesome. So I wanted to announce that when I never officially talked about it on the show, the Landis Harry Larry solo albums available on digital, cassette, CD, and vinyl. Pretty awesome.
All formats.
Yeah, I had to go all out, man. You can't release somebody who's known. He's also known to be a boombox collector. I mean, I think he was even on the cover of the Baltimore City paper with his boombox collection.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't put out his music and not have it on cassette.
Yeah. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, so that's cool. And like I said, he's been playing with the Landis Harry Larry band. If this comes out before September 10th.
And I believe Mark's in that too.
Yes. Yeah. September 10th, he's going to be playing at the Hamden Fest with the Landis Harry Larry band, which Mark from Nova Koloso is on guitar in that band. And it's cool. There's backup singers. There's synth players. There's a couple bass players that trade off. And Landis plays the drums and sings. Harry and Larry can't ever really make it out to the shows. But today, he is actually premiering his very first live Landis Harry Larry, where he's going to be performing Landis Harry Larry songs by himself. Like, you know, there'll be a background track, and he's playing all the live keyboards and some of the effects, and he's singing all the parts of the songs. So it's like a live performance, but kind of not, but, you know, and he'll get to change his costumes and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I think it'd be really interesting. I saw.
He's putting that on like YouTube?
He's doing it like live at an outdoor club tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. It's going to be a live thing. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I kind of pushed him towards that. I was like, the band's great. It's fun. But it's not Landis Harry Larry to me. Like, to me, it's great. I don't want to tell anybody not to go because it's a lot of fun.
Right.
But it sounds more like the Almighty Senators playing a Landis Harry Larry cover.
Right, I got you.
You know what I mean? Like a tight band with Landis's voice. You know, it's like, you know, wow. Hey, Landis, we talked about you a lot today. Speaking of Landis Expandus, he's going to be on one of our next shows. I don't know if it'll be the very next or the one after that. He's going to sit in with us. He really wants to. He said when he listens to us, he has a problem because he just talks back to his speaker.
Oh, yeah.
He keeps forgetting that he's listening, and he wants to. So I was like, absolutely, we'll have you in, dude.
Hell yeah.
So that is out right now. You can go to bigcurvemusic.net, click on Landis, and you'll see all of his stuff. He's got tons of merch and all kinds of stuff there. If you want to look at his art, it's landisexpandus.com. He's always selling a ton of art, and there's always new content. That's the thing with him. Whether you like his artwork or his music, his videos, you're always going to get constant constant content. He's got so much stuff.
There's something to like in one of those.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to be something.
Yep.
And so then we got the Shit, who we talked about on last episode.
The motherfucking Shit.
That's right. And their last recording was in 1994, and they put it out on cassette tape only. We are going through these old recordings.
Did we ever play with the Shit?
Oh, yeah. When we were in Gorilla Monsoon, we played with them and Schlong and Glaze Ride at Baldwin Hall.
Yes. What a great show that was.
So we played with the Shit and we played with Schlong.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah. That was really killer.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that the guys in the Shit still had that flyer, gave it to me. I gave it to Schlong, and Schlong was posting that flyer.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they're going through a resurgence right now. They just had a documentary out called Punk Side Story, which is not their recording of Punk Side Story. It was just what it was called. I don't know. Yeah. If you're interested in Schlong, there's plenty of stuff. Yeah, you can go check it out. My favorite thing that
Punk
Schlong...
Side Story is a great album.
It is great.
Yeah.
Schlong did the Punk Side Story, but they also... My favorite thing that they did is they covered the entire Fleetwood Mac Rumors album.
Oh, no, I haven't heard that.
Called it Tumors, and it's on a 7-inch. The entire album. They covered the whole thing. Yeah. They did some crazy shit.
Is it on streaming or just
I think so. Schlong Tumors. It's really good.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
And who did that song Rainy Days and Sundays?
I don't know.
They covered that too. I know that was one of their songs, but yeah, the documentary, the Schlong documentary, is really cool. I think you pay like $4 to watch it or something online, and it shows like how they would just like pick up roadies, would just jump in their van and stay with them, and then they form bands. I think that's where the singer. I think that's how Buzz Oven was born. Was out of just riding around with them and stuff. Right. There was a lot of really cool stuff, and I was also a fan of some of those other bands like Victims Family and some of that other stuff. So it was a great documentary. And I took a couple screenshots when I watched the documentary because there's a couple times where you can see someone in the band wearing a Freak Beans shirt. Yeah. So I screen captured it and sent it to Tom. Yeah. From Freak Beans. He was like, "Whoa!" So so the Shit. So we took 2 of their songs from that recording and we had them remastered. Tim remastered them, and we just put that out. That's Musical Warfare, which we put out yesterday, and then we did Don't Bury Me 2 weeks ago, and now we're working on we're working on another 15 I think songs, and we're gonna re-release that album completely remastered. And I think that one we're not gonna do all of the formats, but I think we'll at least do CDs.
Is that the Don't Bury Me? That's the one that Mary Prankster used to do a lot, I think.
She used to cover it all the time. Yeah, and Landspeed Record used to cover Musical Warfare.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. So it's pretty cool. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy to say that I released, when we put out Don't Bury Me a couple weeks ago, and it went up on Spotify, dude, it is getting a ton of spins.
Really nice.
And it's from all over the world.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could see like the #1 city and stuff. It's not like it's Annapolis and Baltimore and you're going, okay, well, their fans are, coming out of the woodwork after 25 years. It's like, it's all over the world. And
that's great. That's awesome.
I mean, when I showed the guys the numbers, because I talked to them, they live all the members of that band live in different states.
Really?
Yeah. You got one right now in West Virginia, one in Tennessee, and one in Florida.
Really?
Yeah. He's looking at me so crazy here.
No, where does Chris live?
He lives in Florida.
Does he really?
Yeah, outside of Pensacola.
Okay, I would have sworn he still lived in Maryland.
No. He's been down there for a while.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he was on the Eastern Shore for a while, and then he went down. He's down in Florida. It's like one of those towns outside of Pensacola, I think. Yeah. So
that's
he's
the guy
there.
That doesn't age. Jesus.
Yeah. And then Alvin is who played bass in the Shit. He's in, I think, Nashville or somewhere out in Tennessee. And I think Psycho Mike goes between Maryland and West Virginia. I think he's doing farming or something. I don't know. He's doing some kind of organic something. Really? I don't know. I mean, I reached out to all these guys because I missed their music, and I reached out and I was like, have you ever thought of releasing this? And they're like, yeah, but would anybody want to hear it? And I'm kind of like, yeah. So full disclosure here, part of my deal with Big Curve is I'm trying to find some of these bands that never had their music properly released, just because of the times. I mean, it was like you either made a cassette or a CD, and then the band broke up, and the music's just not out there anymore. I contacted a band. I'm not going to say their name, where I was getting them all excited, and then the one guy stepped in and was like, "Nope, the past is the past. Let it lay." And I was like, "Damn."
Was it the singer?
Nope.
Okay. Was it the guitar player?
Nope.
Wow. Was it the drummer?
Nope.
The fucking bass player.
Yep. Anyways,
my last guess.
But yeah, so I mean, I have tracked bands down that have been like, yeah, no, like I don't want to do that. I don't want the music out there. And then I got dudes from bands going, we never put anything out. And
in a way, I kind of get that though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, but it's not like they were an embarrassing,
like the Tribal Voice CD. Like,
yeah, you would have been okay if we didn't release that,
right? I think so. Yeah. Because it's very 90s. It's very 90.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't age well.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't age that well. But especially for like punk and hardcore and stuff, like it's like, okay, like bands are still coming out now sounding just like that, right. Like especially, in the whole, Fat Records and Lookout Records and all that right. Southern California, it's, I don't know. Anyways, it was a shame because I think that it could have done pretty well because I think that particular band still had a good name. I have contacted a couple of other bands that we are going to do it, but I don't know if I can talk about it yet, and I'm really excited about that. So, and then I got dudes in some of our bands right now. They're like, "Hey, I had a project back in, 98, and we recorded, but we never did anything with it because we broke up. Like, would you put that out?" I'm going, "Sure." I mean, it's not like I'm going to do a full press release and I'm just going to place it out there. And
on Spotify and
yeah. It doesn't. I mean, it's not. It's not a huge expense for the record label to do that. Yeah. We're not doing T-shirts, right. and stuff. Right. So yeah, I think it's kind of a fun thing to do. Is to get some of the stuff out there. So
because it was a good scene. The Maryland scene was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, the '80s. DC was hot, and then it just shifted.
Yeah,
it shifted up to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Even Annapolis shifted into Baltimore. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest Discord bands in the '90s was a Baltimore band, Lungfish. So, not that DC still wasn't doing their thing; they were, but Baltimore was the place. The next band I want to talk about is Swampcandy, which is Ruben Dobbs from Annapolis, doing it's like a Delta bluesy slide guitar, bass drum, stand-up bass kind of thing. And he's been doing Swampcandy for a few years and, mostly around Annapolis, but a lot of people probably don't know this. I mean, he toured Europe at the UK like a couple times a year, every year for years.
Yeah.
And he really gathered a really good fan base out there. So I'm excited that we're going to re-release all the Swampcandy stuff and have a new EP coming this fall.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked about that.
Trying to think about how long we've known Ruben.
I met Ruben when he first started playing with Dingle.
Oh no, you met him before that.
Oh really?
Because Landspeed played a show at the Dingle house.
I was there.
Yeah, because we were doing a hyphenated American
interview with Landspeed. Right. Before either of us were in Landspeed.
Yeah, and his band was playing. I can't remember the name of the band.
Oh shit! Oh, I guess I did then. Because
you may not have met him.
But he was around that whole. I mean, he was there at the shit shows.
But it was not long after that he joined Dingleberry.
He joined Dingleberry, right? And which is the next band I'm going to talk about. But yeah, you're gonna love. I mean, Ruben's stuff is really good. He's got a really good blues voice. He's killer on that guitar. It really slams. I've seen him live a couple times. I'm just really excited to have him back. I think this time it's just him. He's toured as a 2-piece. I think maybe a 3-piece, a 2-piece, but it's just him now.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think he has like a stomp box that he's going to do the beats with and stuff.
Him and the chick, I thought it was.
I think she sang on stuff, but he had a dude for a while who was doing the stand-up bass.
Oh, okay.
with him. But that's going to be really cool, and he hasn't done anything in a really long time. So that is going to be really cool. I think it's early November. He's going to be doing his first show back, and it's going to be in Annapolis. And Mark Colgrove from Nova Koloso and Psycho Mike from The Shit playing in Annapolis. What the fuck? The last time he played a show in Annapolis was, I think, 10 or 12 years ago, was him and C from The Shit playing together at an acoustic show.
Oh,
so
yeah?
It's been over a decade. So that is going to be a killer show. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. About that.
I'm definitely going to go out to that one. I think it's early November. The next one is good old, we just mentioned them a couple times, Dingleberry Dynasty. Comedy, shock, rock. You know, they've been around.
Oh, man.
They've been around for over almost 25 years. Because I first saw them in '99, and they were already around and already on their second round of guitar players.
Right. It's trying to think. I met them. They opened for J.R. Jr. a couple times.
Was that when Jeff was still playing guitar with them?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't meet him then. That's when I lived in Texas.
I mean, I don't know his name, but it wasn't.
That was Crazy Jeff. Geoff. Crazy Jeff, who I was in all those bands with.
Oh, really?
Dolph Sweet and all that.
He was in Dingle? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And apparently, there was a big falling out, and that's why
I don't remember that. No, this was some other guy. Some other guy and a chick.
Okay, and that was before Rob and Tara.
And yes, and I think Chris, the singer, blew the band up or something, and just got, screw you guys, I'm getting.
And he got a whole new band,
right,
and that's when he got Ken,
yes,
and Rob and Tim, and
which was a great move.
Yeah,
which was a really good move.
Yeah, I mean they were a great. And wasn't Larry playing like percussion back then too? Larry Balducci, I think was.
He could have.
Yeah, I think. I mean, because I saw them playing. I think.
Like we would play with them at Langway's.
Because I would see them either headlining or opening shows at the Eastport Clipper in Annapolis.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like playing with like Jimmy's Chicken Shack and stuff like that.
I believe we played with them there too.
Probably, yeah. I think so. Yeah. So Dingleberry Dynasty, the thing is, yeah, they do got 5 albums, but they've also been together for over 20 years. They don't put out music very often. They don't play shows very often anymore. But I got them to record some new stuff that we're going to be releasing. They did a cover of AC/DC's Big Balls, and that was on a compilation last year, and we're releasing it tomorrow as a single, which is awesome. I love their version of it. And they have a brand new song coming out in a couple weeks called Totally Effed, and they're doing a video for that and stuff. It's crazy because, you know, the lineup has changed over because it's just been so long, and now, you know, the guy we've talked about 20 times today, Mark Colgrove, Mudshark Mark, he's now the main guitar player in the band.
Right.
So, you know, and
I'm sure he's doing the video too.
But that's the thing, because when you go to see him live, you know, he puts all this crazy stuff together for the film, you know, behind them on the screen. I mean, it's interactive with what's going on with the band and what's going on in the crowd. Like it's very, very cool. Yeah. They even did, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was watching them. I think they were opening for Steel Panther, who's that, you know, kind of the Spinal Tap of hair metal kind of thing. Sure. And
parodying something that really doesn't need to be a parody.
Right, because it's its own thing, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
over the top.
Dude, I saw they did a pilot for Comedy Central.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, really? So
funny, and it didn't get picked up. Because, they do their act on stage. They do like a comedy act along with their music and everything. So I think what happened is that when Dingleberry Dynasty was announced as the opener, I think a bunch of people were looking like, who the fuck are these guys, right? So they went onto the event page and were like posting all this really horrible shit about them. So like in the middle of the show, Dingleberry pulls that up on the big LED screen. There's thousands of people. It's sold out at the Fillmore. And they started like going through and looking at the shit comments and be like, I know you're here. Who is it? And it was just the funniest. It was really cool. It was a way to really get them over to the crowd that was there. Yeah. A crowd that might have been hostile about it happening in the first place, but then kind of getting the fucking joke.
Right.
So when I saw them with Steel Panther, it was great. It worked out freaking awesome.
That's pretty brilliant.
So it's really interactive. And I was surprised because Mark is also a movie maker, that if you go to their YouTube page with Dingleberry, I mean, there's a couple live videos and that's it. And I was like, huh. Like, you would think that they would have tons of video content, but, Mark's got a lot of his own shit going on. And, so we're excited to be working with them on a video. We got more video stuff to talk about in a few. And once again, talking about Mark Colgrove, Mr. Mudshark, his wife's band, Handapple, who just started, they're like a indie synth pop band. They just started, and they've already, they started a couple months ago, and they've already played 2 killer shows at the Auto Bar and played a couple shows at the Crown. So they're recording their very first album right now, and we're going to be releasing that. And Megazillion, who some of you guys know Paul from, being in a billion bands since the 90s in Baltimore. Compression, Dark Water Transit. He's in a band with Landis called F City, and his project is Megazillion, which is pretty much every genre. And we're going to be putting that out. I think the record release party is going to be at the Auto Bar on December 9th. I can't talk about the other bands playing yet because not everything is confirmed, but that is going to be a hell of a party.
What's the date again?
December 9th. And I think his teenage son is his drummer, and he's killer. Just a really good drummer. I'll play some Megazillion on the music portion of this show so you guys can check it out, but it's one of those things kind of like Landis where you can't judge the whole project just on one song because everything is different. Yeah. It would be kind of like if someone came up to you and be like, have you ever heard Fishbone? You're like, no, and they played you Swim.
Right.
And you're supposed to judge a band based on one song, which, you can't do that.
It's like any band, actually. Dude. Except for maybe the shit.
Yeah, right. Fuck yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. They're one of the exceptions, right? You can't with my kids are 10 and 12. We're listening to the radio all the time, and I have all the satellite stations, and we're always flipping around. Every time the Pixies come on, it's Here Comes Your Man. And they're like, don't you like this band? And I'm like, yeah, but not because of this song. Right, don't judge the Pixies on Here Comes Your Man, dude. Right. Come on. All right, and the last band I'm going to talk about is my own, American Jet Set. So many cool things coming up. We are, my band will be a nice segue into the topic we're going to be talking about next. But we are playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood September 17th with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses. Nice. I guess you could also say, and from Celebrity Rehab. I guess a lot of people probably know him from that.
You think? No, not more than Guns N' Roses.
Who could name him in the past 10 years, though? I mean, he was on 2 seasons. He was in that, what was the show that was the follow-up to Celebrity? It was like Rehab House or Halfway House. What was it called?
No. Appetite. That's like one of the biggest selling albums.
I'm just saying that, if you go up to somebody under 30 and you go, oh, Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses. Oh, is he in the band? Well, he's not in the band now.
Right.
Anyways, he cleaned himself up years ago off of the nasty stuff, and I've been watching him doing drum videos for years, and I've got to see his band a couple times, but I've seen the current lineup of the band in the last 2 years. Yeah. Holy shit. Really good. Oh. And this guy, man, he's just a great drummer. And I mean,
is he really?
Oh yeah. Appetite was only Appetite because if Matt Sorum would have played drums on Appetite, it would have not as slammed as hard.
You don't think so? Wow.
Absolutely not. Wow. Because Matt Sorum is a good drummer.
Absolutely. I
don't think he's got a lot of soul.
Oh.
I think he's kind of robotic. I think he repeats himself a lot in his fills. Oh. I mean, you listen to November Rain, which is already 12 minutes, and every time he gets to the drums, it's doot, 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 doom, gung, gung. Nothing against him. Good drummer. Loved his work in The Cult and Velvet Revolver. Yeah. I'm not saying he's bad. The drums on Appetite are so good. They're I don't know. I can feel, it feels like that album might not have been recorded on a click track. It has this body to it that I think is his drumming. And furthermore, I'll say that because when he was putting out videos, it might have been during the pandemic, he started playing Guns N' Roses songs from after he was in the band. Oh, and he put out a video of him playing drums for You Can Be Mine or You Should Be Mine. And, dude, it was better. Yeah. It was so good. And when you see him play now, I got to see him, of course, in front of 10,000 people at one of the M3s, but he's up there on his drums. I'm telling you, ear-to-ear grin on his face from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Just so fucking happy to be there and to be alive and to be playing these songs, and it's great. And he went out, and instead of doing Adler's Appetite and coming up with all this original music, he was like, you know what? People, they just want to hear Guns N' Roses. Right? And they want to hear classic Guns N' Roses. I'm going to go out and find a singer who sounds like Axl did in 87. I'm going to find a guitar player who can sound like Slash, and it's going to be like a cover band, but with the real drummer.
Right.
And boy, did he do it. I mean,
who else did that? Didn't Bobby Blotzer do that with Rat?
Oh yeah, but those guys sucked. he didn't look for someone who sounded like Warren DeMartini and someone who sounded like Stephen Piercy. He was like, let's get guys who can play the songs.
Yeah.
Adler was very smart about what he did. He did it like he wanted. All right, I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan. All right, I've seen Guns N' Roses since they've reunited with Slash twice already. Steven Adler's is better.
Oh.
Sounding. Performance-wise, Jesus, I mean, Guns N' Roses puts on an insanely awesome show. Right. I'm not putting that down, but as far as like sounding like the original band and the original music and Appetite,
right?
Steven Adler's band, man. His singer, I don't even think his singer speaks English except for in Guns N' Roses vocals. He's like, I think he's Brazilian.
Oh, really?
I think it was like kind of the Journey thing. I think they went out and they found a guy who can do Axl Rose.
Oh, wow.
I think that he was just like, I mean, dude, my son who's now 12, I think when he was like 8 or something, I took him to see Slash's solo band because he's a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And at that point, Guns N' Roses wasn't back together. And I'm like, this is going to be the closest he's going to get to ever seeing Guns N' Roses.
Right.
Because no one ever thought they were going to get back together.
Right.
We were at the Fillmore, and it was so packed in there that like I was uncomfortable having my kid, but enough people around me saw that, and they let us kind of get to the front of the balcony, and he just kind of sat there and watched. We were right over Slash. Didn't play a single Velvet Revolver or Guns N' Roses song.
Huh.
Except for during his solo, he went into a little bit of Rocket Queen on the guitar. Look, I know he was there as Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. I get it. Dude, play one or two Guns N' Roses songs.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care if it's Sweet Child of Mine or Welcome to the Jungle. Dude, something crazy. Play, It's So Easy or something.
It's like when Tom Petty toured with Mudcrutch and he didn't play any Tom Petty songs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always necessary if people... I mean, people went to that show because they like Slash. I'm sure they've listened to his stuff with Miles Kennedy. But it's like, dude, I don't remember... Oh, I did talk about this on one of the shows. It's like Weird Al's coming through, and he's not doing any of his parody songs.
That's ridiculous.
And none of the gimmicky stuff. It's like, dude, I think people have to realize why people are coming to shows.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Like we talked about on the first shows, like when you're going to see Kiss, you know that you're going there to see Kiss. You're going there to see the fucking paint and the fireballs and all this kind of shit. Because even in the 80s and early 90s, when they were still selling records, but they weren't selling out arenas.
Right.
Because people knew if they go, they're gonna, it's not, they didn't give up on their 70s stuff when they were, it's so. I got a lot more to talk about with that, but when I was talking about my band American Jet Set, we are playing with Steven Adler in November, on November 19th, 18th, and 19th. We're playing 2 nights in a row with Kicks at the Tally Ho Theater in Virginia.
Nice.
And they do that every year, and it sells out every year, both nights. Yeah. So I'm really stoked to do that because...
How many times do they play a year?
They usually do... They always play the Friday night of M3 at Merriweather Post.
Right.
They always do the Tally Ho. They do 2 nights there. They always do Kicksmas at Christmas. And then... I'm trying to remember. They do another Ram's Head thing, which I don't know if it's like middle of the summer or it's somewhere halfway between one of those things. And they sell out every show.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's wild. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. And still not playing anything off their first 2 albums, I guess.
No, they play that stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah. They played them when you were there. They
no,
did.
They didn't. No,
they didn't do.
Absolutely did not.
I've heard they didn't play Yeah Yeah Yeah.
No. Dude, remember how sour I was? Like,
oh yeah, no, I do remember, and I kept telling you they're gonna do it because every time I see them, they do it.
Yeah.
And Steve Whiteman always tells a different story instead of because talk about dating your music. I think in the regular song he's like, and then we took some lewds. Because she took my Heineken.
Someone from the crowd like shouted up. Like, do blah, blah, blah. It was something off one of the first albums.
Atomic Bomb, sorry. Atomic Bomb.
I can't remember what it was, but he goes, we don't do that old stuff no more. And meanwhile, they had just played Midnight Dynamite.
Right. So, I've heard them play Atomic Bomb and The Itch. They play The Itch, too.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, they
didn't do anything when we saw them.
I think I've seen them so many times recently that it seems to me that they play that every time. Maybe, I don't know, we played a private show with them during, like, the heart of the pandemic where someone, like, paid us and them to play at this club that was bought out, and then, it was 2 top tables spread out. I think the venue's capacity is, like, upwards of 2,000, and during the pandemic, they were allowed to have 50 people in the building, and it was 2 top tables. Yeah. For me, it was great. I got to go on stage. It's like not the first time I've played in front of only 50 people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, it was fucking awesome. Like, I knew when I went out there and started playing that was the first live music anybody had heard in 9 months.
Right.
There was nothing going on at that point. Yeah. There wasn't outside concerts of any kind. Yeah. Like, there was outdoor things going on here or there where you had to buy a pod. Yeah. A 4-person pod.
Man, it was like wild. It was
was it a pod thing or
no? It was at the 930 Club, and like it was kind of sold out. Like it was crazy.
Oh, but they just reopened not that long ago.
It was last year, November.
Because they were closed almost a year, I think, a solid year at least. Shit, what show was that?
Idols.
And that was that was still when they were requiring vaccinations, masks, everything.
Yeah. Seeing them again next week.
Oh yeah, cool, man. So we're doing that, and then the next night. So that's 2 nights in a row. We're playing with the Kicks, and then the third night. Hold on a second here. I'm calling down our next guest. The next night we're playing American Jet Set. We're filming a video, but we wanted the video to kind of be. Part of the video is us playing live, and we wanted to play in like the smallest club I could find, like a really small club. And so we're going to do it at Hank Deedle's, which is right at the end of Rockville Pike. Oh, okay. It's so old that they literally hold their liquor license is number 1 in the county.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think they're considered to be a roadhouse. Like most of the bands, it's mostly blues and old country and surf, rockabilly, stuff like that. But we're gonna do it, and we're gonna film our video there. And the cool part about that too is that playing right before us is my partner Tim's band, the Neuro Farm, which is like totally goth. They're like super goth band, violin players, all this kind of stuff. And then opening the show completely is Mark Colgrove from Nova Koloso. He's going to do an acoustic set.
What's that date?
That's Sunday the 20th of November. Okay. In the evening time. It's not a night show. I think the whole thing has to be done by 9 o'clock or something like that. Yeah.
I might be able to make it.
That'll be awesome. It's going to be pretty, it'll probably be pretty packed because it's it's really, really small. Oh, yeah. But the person who books it booked the 930 Club like all through the 90s and then moved over to Fletcher's. And so so like when I got in touch with her, like she was totally down for the idea. She's like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's going to be awesome. So that's going to be great. So that brings me right into the topic I wanted to talk about today. And I didn't know that we were going to accidentally slip into it 5 or 6 times during the early part of the show. Actually, oh my God, we've been talking for an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about this briefly, and I think that this will bring up conversation a lot in the future as well. I want to welcome my son Rollins. What's up, dude?
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Kid's a hell of a drummer and guitar player too, dude.
Damn right. I'm subscribed to YouTube.
Oh, so you didn't get scared of his Slipknot video?
Yeah, you know what? I passed on that one, actually. I have to tell you.
It's okay, dude. He doesn't even listen to our show. But I wanted to talk about, there's such a resurgence right now in so many different genres of music, because rock and roll has only really been around since the 50s, right? So the older people, right? Excuse me. And I wish I could think of a better way to put this. The people who are dying off, people from old age, like the people that have made it that long, made it into their 90s. Like, yeah, they were alive when rock and roll wasn't here.
Right.
But those people we're running out of those people.
Right.
People who were alive during World War II, like they're getting old.
Yeah.
So most people walking around alive today have been alive. Rock and roll has been a thing.
Right.
And I'll say that because it started out with rock and roll, and then it kind of went in the direction of R&B, and then it splintered into all these different things. But so if you're alive now and you're over 20 or 30, there's something nostalgic to look back on from the music you listened to when you were younger. Right? So you and I would be probably considered a lot of it like classic rock. When I was in high school, we were listening to Zeppelin and stuff like that, and it was considered classic rock when it was only 20 years old at that point. Like, it wasn't even that old.
Well, when the last Zeppelin album came out,
80.
Yeah.
So at that point, that was only 11 years old in 1980. So in 1990, it was only 21 years old. Nirvana's fucking over 30 years old.
Right.
So, it's it's a weird thing. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I think a lot of it gets a bad rap depending on how people look back at that time in music, right? So, and I brought Rollins here to talk about it because he wasn't alive during any of it, during the 80s, during the 90s, during the 2000s. He was born in 2010. So I figured we could get a fresh perspective because he listens to classic music. Or what's considered to be classic music, and what could be considered cheesy about that. And when I say that, I could say, he likes Nirvana, right?
Sure.
He likes, and his favorite thing about it is the songwriting, right? Like, you love the way the songs are put together. Yeah. And he likes the guitar playing, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But you also like Winger, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Red Beach.
Right. Great guitar player. Now, most people would look back and go, oh, Winger, that's cheesy. Like that's nostalgia. Like, if you're going to see Winger, you're doing it as a goof. I went to go see Winger, and people were like, "Oh, that's funny," and I'm like, "No, I'm going to see Winger. Like, I like them."
I don't know if I've ever gone to a show as a goof. I don't know. That's funny. Why are you going? Because I'm going to laugh at him.
Well, I kind of thought that's why your wife was at the Kick show.
Oh no, yeah, that was a weird thing. She did kind of get dragged into that.
Oh, right. But so, and that's what I mean. So, late last year, your first show post pandemic, we went to see Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was a great show.
That was with Def Leppard and.
No. This was Guns N' Roses with. This was Wolfgang Van Halen opening up.
God damn, did you see that?
Dude.
Taylor Hawkins show?
And the funny thing is, when I watched that, I was like, then why are you doing the shit you're doing? If that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean.
That was amazing.
The sound.
Yeah.
Like, I saw the reunited David Lee Roth Van Halen a couple times. I think they got back together 2007. So I've seen them twice since then. Wolfgang sounded better and more like Eddie Van Halen than Eddie Van Halen did when I saw Eddie Van Halen with Van Halen in the past 10, 20 years. Yeah. It was so good.
It was great.
And could you tell that it looked effortless?
Oh, right. He was having a blast.
It was so good. I mean, think of the songs that he picked too. It's not like he didn't pick Jump.
Right. Yeah.
or even, Dance the Night Away or something like that. I'm not saying those are easy on guitar so much, but I don't know. But yeah, so Wolfgang opened up. We saw it. Boy, you really forget how much of Maryland is kind of rednecky until you go to a concert like Guns N' Roses in Baltimore.
Right.
And it's masks are required, and you're slowly seeing the rednecks have a couple too many Coors Lights, and then their mask goes away, and then the poor people that work at the arena.
Yeah.
Oh, could you please put your mask on? Guns N' Roses.
Couldn't pay me enough.
But we were lucky because we were in the front row of our section, so we didn't have to deal with anybody in front of us or anything. Because it was still kind of scary. That was like September of last year, so that was like right when concerts were happening.
It was like right when everybody like started to kind of come out of their shell a little bit
Yeah.
again, I'd say.
Yeah.
Is right in that point in 2021 where it was like a few months before 2022, so it was a few months.
It was definitely like the Septet area, right? Probably when you went to go see the Idols last time at 9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and then he went the beginning of the summer. We went to see Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Joan Jett, and Poison.
That was
right?
awesome.
So
that was really cool.
When you look at
that would have been my dream lineup in like '88.
right, okay, so that's why I'm asking you. I want to ask you specifically, when you look at that lineup, what's your first thought?
Well, yeah, probably precisely that. Like,
that would have been great 40 years ago,
right,
or whatever. Yeah. But you would have no interest.
No, little interest in seeing it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that
I've seen those bands? Honestly,
because you can tell when you're at these kind of concerts, like who's there because they genuinely,
except for Poison, I never saw Poison.
one of the best live bands ever.
They were. I mean, and I thought
Crowd reaction. Did they not get a better reaction than any other band?
They got a better. Okay, they got a better reaction than everybody except Motley Crue. Because when Motley Crue came out, it was like pouring rain the whole time. I should mention that. And so with
and it had been postponed like an hour and a half after
so
Def Leppard.
Like Def Leppard had just finished, and so Def Leppard had just finished, and everybody's like, okay, Motley Crue, yay, we get the headliner finally. And then everybody just sat in like under the coping for like an hour and a half until they came out, and then we just
doing
had
nothing
to,
but drinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, that's a bummer when you have to wait all that time for a band.
It happened a lot during that tour, apparently, for them. But so they came out and the crowd went crazy just because there was actually music again. But Poison puts on a show, dude.
And like, cause it was raining, like it was raining pretty much throughout the entire show. Like there were times where like it wasn't raining that hard, but like I said, when Motley Crue came out, like it was pouring, and so. But when Poison played, Poison's just a band of you think of like a like party, like it's sunny, like summer, but it was just like pouring rain and cloudy and everybody. But they made it work. Like
they tore it up, man.
They were like jumping around on stage. The guitar player did a Eddie Van Halen tribute, which was awesome. And they just
he actually did it.
He shouldn't do that.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up. I thought it was nice that he did it, but don't look it up.
All right.
But so the thing
I'll
is,
look that up as a goof.
and yeah, well, and I could do a really fair comparison here that you've never seen them before, because can you take a guesstimate of when? So David Lee Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile came out in '85, same time, like a year or so, but 85, 86. Yeah. His next album, Skyscraper, which wasn't that great of an album.
No.
But I saw him on that tour.
Did you?
And a friend took me last minute. I didn't even know Poison was opening. And I was like in 8th grade or something, and I hated Poison. I thought, because that's right when I was starting to get into Metallica and Anthrax and, all this other kind of stuff.
All the thrash metal.
I still liked Motley Crue and stuff like that because I'd already liked them, but I was just like, Poison, right? People in my 8th grade class who like Poison, I'm like, Poison sucks. Right. Whatever. They opened up for David Lee Roth, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, it sounds weird. They put on such a great show. Yeah. They're tight. They're a great live band. You could tell when you're at any of these concerts that there's the people there that are still genuinely a fan.
Right.
And who and then there's the people that are like, oh, I remember them.
Yeah.
You're like, that'll be crazy. Let's go see Motley Crue. Why not? And then you got the people like, I've seen them 17 times at the Capitol Center. I'm never gonna miss them again. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, is it classic or is it nostalgia? Because it's like people look at me and think it's cheesy that I'm going to see bands like that, but then they go to see Roger Waters, and I go, well, like that's from way earlier than that, and I kind of thought Pink Floyd was kind of cheesy in my mind.
Right.
So I'm just like, I wonder about those things.
I'm getting more into them as I get older, but when I was young, I couldn't stand Pink Floyd.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't play me something and be like, what sucks about this?
Yeah,
I just like, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
Same thing with, like, Pearl Jam. Just not my thing. Yeah. I'm sure they're phenomenal, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah. They got a good drummer. Can you believe that dude he's Soundgarden's drummer, and he's been in Pearl Jam since like 96.
I know. Yeah.
God, two of the biggest bands.
Yeah.
Jeez, lucky dude.
He's great.
Yeah. I still don't know if I'd play with Pearl Jam. I don't know.
Even
I don't know
if you got the chance to be with that big of a band, you would say no.
I don't know. I just,
dude.
Of course, I would play in it. But so, we also saw Joan Jett play, and man,
she sounded amazing. Her whole band sounded amazing, but she wasn't doing anything. She stood in her
she kind of
space.
just stands there.
She stands there. She plays, but she sounds great though. So it doesn't even.
It was
really
such a short set that it didn't matter. I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't want to. It's easier to watch that for a half hour of the band just standing there than it is for an hour and a half or a 2-hour show where there's no show about it. You're just excited about every song she's playing. Yeah. And then you realize that, and same with Poison, half the songs were covers.
No, she didn't do that. She did two. She did 3 or 4.
Yeah, in a half-hour set, that's a lot of covers.
Oh, well, yeah. I thought
she does Crimson and Clover, and she does Everyday People, and she did another one, and I Love Rock and Roll. Yeah, it's not known as a cover, but it is.
Right.
Poison always does Your Mama Can't Dance. They didn't do it this time, but the last time I saw them, they do that Marshall Tucker Band song, Can't You See?
Oh, right, yeah.
And they do a couple, too.
I saw Joan Jett, 89. She opened up for... Robert Plant.
Ooh, that would have been cool.
And dude, the best thing about it is I had second row seats at the Cap Center.
Yeah.
And the weird Joan Jett comes on, and I thought I'm a Joan Jett fan, yeah.
Yeah.
And but no one was standing up. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was wondering,
well, especially since you've been to 100 concerts there, and people are standing up.
And here on the floor, second row, and they're standing right in front of me, and why aren't we?
Is that because it was Robert Plant fans, and in the 70s people didn't stand; they sat or something? Maybe it's a.
No, this was 89.
No, I'm saying that, but Robert Plant fans from back when he was in Zeppelin.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's a.
But then when she closed with "I Love Rock and Roll," everyone stood up
because that's the song they.
Right.
But that was out in 81, I would think. But she had a couple other hits by then.
Right, yeah.
Oh, the other song she does that's a cover is "Do You Wanna Touch?" Hey,
right.
do you want? That was the same guy who did the creepy guy. Was that the same guy who did?
Was that Gary Glitter?
I think so. Yeah, and we want to talk about why. Motley Crue plays that song, the Rock and Roll Part 2 or whatever.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
I think they stopped playing that at hockey games.
I think they still do. I don't know. But anyways, I was just saying that, there's that difference between what's nostalgia and what's classic. When you go to M3, if you don't know what it is, you can look it up. It's like a pretty much 80s rock festival that happens in Maryland every year. Pretty big, Merriweather Post. You see all the true fans of that music who they didn't just buy a Whitesnake back patch and sew it onto their jacket. That's their jacket.
Right.
But they wear that to work. These people, and then you got the people who are a little younger who are wearing spandex and wigs and bandanas. And the real fans look at that and they're like, ugh, this isn't a joke, man. This isn't a joke, man.
Wow.
And that it's weird. You get that weird thing.
Gatekeeping.
I'm kind of in the middle of all of it. I like it because it's nostalgic. I like it because it's a little goofy.
Right.
And I like it because I liked it back then and it rocks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different reasons. And, I brought that up because, as far as music goes, like we were talking about earlier in Maryland, the D.C., Baltimore, Annapolis scene from, say, late 80s through the mid-2000s. I'd say that's when we were mostly involved in that scene.
Uh-huh.
Where there wasn't much of a time where we weren't in a band that was involved in that stuff, right? That's where I've met most of my friends that I still have, the people that I've collected on social media since 2010, are mostly people from that era.
Sure.
Once I started playing this style of music that American Jet Set does, kind of that 80s Sunset Strip rock style, dude, I'll put up a post of one of our songs and no, I'll put up a post of my dog, and I'll get 75 likes.
Oh, sure, right.
I'll post our brand new song that we busted our ass on for months, who we're going to play in L.A. in a week and a half. People are going to go crazy for us. I posted on Facebook. All my friends are like, dude, what why are you playing that kind of music? Like why? Or they won't even talk to me about it. You know? Like I had one guy recently. I was posting about the shit and how I had sat in on drums one time. Guy literally writes, "I didn't know you were a drummer."
Are you joking?
The guy used to book a club. That I used to play in all the time, and I'm friends with him because he knows me because I used to play the club that he booked.
Right.
Like, I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I read it and I go, maybe he thought I didn't play drums with them.
Right.
No. Oh, man, I didn't know you played drums. It's like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. I was just saying that because it's like, you know, ever since I left that kind of scene, I've never played in a band that was that style. So the first band I played in after that whole thing was Hollow Boy, which was kind of a electronic, kind of dancey, kind of Duran, but not that poppy kind of thing. Uh-huh. And, you know, all my friends there were like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, we're touring the U.S. and Canada.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I got this weird defensive thing going on because I feel like if I played in some weird indie rock, you know, band that like they use orange amps and, you know, stuff like that, and, you know, an old Ludwig kick with just hi-hats, like, I think my friends would love it.
Right.
My social media friends.
Well, yeah, because you met them through that type music.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, people aren't bending at all, but it's just like,
even if you would have played that type music, like, I don't know, Facebook reactions wouldn't have been much different. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably true.
Like when we put out that Goodbye New Plans record, nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit. You know what I mean?
I mean,
put our fucking hearts out.
Yeah, I know that, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, when you're writing, you know, the whole thing is just strange, and that's why, like, I'm kind of working with some of these bands that we're working with now that are current bands, and bands are using different philosophies now than they were years ago with what shows you choose to play,
right,
and how often you choose to play, and who you choose to play with. All those things factor in how well you're going to do, at least regionally or locally. Like, right. You know, when we started the band that I'm in now, like, we were like, we're not just going to play any show. Like, we're all in our early 50s or late 40s. Like, there's no, you know, we're not trying to start a thing. Right, you know, we're not trying to, you know, we're going to play some killer shows. Like, we don't need to pay our dues and work our way up. We're just going to play the good shows.
I remember one time, a mutual friend of ours was in a band. And this was in the 90s. This is with JR Jr. And we like, hey, we want to play this band, play this show. I forget what the club was. But the response was, we're kind of done playing those low morale gigs.
Low morale? Low morale. Yeah. Hey. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind playing smaller shows, and things don't really. But for that band, for this band in particular, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's, you know, like, most of us are getting babysitters to go to practice and to play gigs, or, you know, like, we have family. Like, it's not like it was back in the day when it's like you take every gig, you play as often as possible. It doesn't matter if it's opening for Greg Ginn on a Tuesday night at Memory Lane. You know,
how many people were at that show?
5 or 6 maybe, and they were our friends.
Yep.
Which is crazy, because if Greg Ginn came around now, people are like, oh my God,
Absolutely.
Greg Ginn, Black Flag.
Yeah.
People were exhausted at that point.
Man,
I think I
thought that was going to be a huge show. Dude. It was crazy.
Dude, there were a lot of times when I thought.
And he was kind of a jerk.
Oh, yeah, he was awful.
Yeah.
He was like trying to take it out on us that we didn't fill the place. We're like, dude, we're new. Like, we just started. This is our first club gig. It was, you know? That was our first club gig, I think.
Was it really?
It was our first Memory Lane show.
Wow, that was it? I didn't realize it was.
Yeah.
How is he going to blame you, the opening band,
right,
on not drawing enough attention when he's the actual headliner?
Well, he was the guitar player of Black Flag, started Black Flag. So in the late 70s and early 80s, he was really famous in punk rock. Yeah. And he also found SST Records.
SST Records, right?
Yeah. I think at that point, he had screwed over a couple bands that the people in that, I think it was bands that, you know, our friends and stuff were into, that he had screwed over and stuff. So I think it was just kind of like, oh, this is this old washed up punk guy.
Right.
But now, 30 years later, I guarantee you, if he came and played at the Auto Bar, there'd be at least 100 people there.
Yeah. But I think his argument is like, we were the local band, so we should have
brought. Yeah, exactly. You're right. And that happens every once in a while. I know. With Jetset, I think the smallest show we ever played was with the Bullet Boys. Completely outdrew them. Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. And I'm not bragging because there was only like 37 people there. So saying that we outdrew them is kind of weird. But we did. But yeah, it just depends. I mean, it all just depends. And I just wanted to bring that up because, we had mentioned before that, like the Hollywood Sunset Strip era of rock and roll was only really like 83 to 89.
Right.
And the resurgence came in like 2008, and it's still going strong, which is just wild. I've never heard of a resurgence lasting longer than the original.
Right.
But, I mean, the Beatles' whole career was what, 11 years?
At max. It was small.
Yeah, what was it, 71 or 70 they broke up? I can't remember.
Yes. Just say it was 71. I mean, the first record wasn't out in the 50s.
Right. Yeah.
So they weren't together more than 11 years. Yeah. And they went through how many, even their look and their sound changed. I mean, that was 11 years.
Yeah.
11 years. Like 2011. Like from now to then, like that's it. That was the Beatles.
Their career was how old I was.
Yeah.
Like
Led Zeppelin, 11 years. That's it.
Well, they did a lot.
Wait, really?
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is that like this weird resurgence of this style of music has lasted almost twice as long as the Beatles or Led Zeppelin ever did. Like it's really weird. I mean, you would have thought that the Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison thing would have happened back at the beginning of this resurgence. Yeah. But it's happening 14 years into it, which is saying that it's not going anywhere. But the bands are going to start, I
think it's Aerosmith. Are they still together?
Yeah.
I would guess
rare. They haven't done anything since the pandemic.
They're probably like the last, as far as what I would consider classic rock.
Mostly original members.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
that was at M3.
Yeah, you were there too.
M3 was okay.
That was an odd placement for M3.
That was my first M3. Like he goes like every single year.
Because not only was it 40 degrees and rainy, we were also outside for 12 hours. Like we're outside, it's all day long. So, but he saw. Who did you get to see?
So I
saw
Blue Oyster Cult. Enough's Enough.
He saw Enough's Enough, but they did an all Beatles set.
Yeah, which was weird. They did only covers, and then
I think they played "Fly High, Michelle" at the end.
My favorite one was definitely Stephen Piercy. He blew it all away, and he's
got a great solo band now. He hasn't always had a great solo band. He does now.
And the band that he had flew out same day.
Yeah, two of the guys in the band were fly-in guys because two of his guys got COVID. So they didn't even, I think they rehearsed the night before or that morning.
Oh wow!
And dude, they slay. That we're playing with Stephen Piercy in December at the Whiskey.
Nice.
And Rollins is going to be there at that show
Yeah, I'm excited for that. And also, Extreme was supposed to be at M3. They did what happened to them?
I think there's someone in their crew. COVID. I think.
So
there was a lot of that this year.
And then I even so when I say Stephen Piercy was my favorite, we didn't stay for the headliner.
But you saw the sound check of the headliner in the morning.
I saw the sound check of the headliner in the morning because we were there at
and 8
who was
a.m.
That? And that was, I can't remember his name, singer of Cinderella.
Tom Kiefer.
Tom Kiefer.
How was that sound check?
That sound check was they only played the hits. So I didn't even need to stay through the 30-degree weather at in the middle of the night.
That was the thing. We left before they went. We left halfway through Blue Oyster Cult, and the only thing left was Tom Kiefer. And it was 40 degrees when the sun was out. 40 degrees during the day. We're dude, we're let's.
Dude,
I heard "Don't Fear the Reaper." I'm out of here.
Keep in mind.
I left before Godzilla.
Keep in mind, May.
It was in May. It was awful. It was awful.
It was still fun to me because I can say okay, so I've been to 3 really big concerts now. I've been to Guns N' Roses. I was at the Stadium Tour, and I went to M3.
Yeah,
those are 3 really big ones.
And you're gonna get and you saw Slash at the Fillmore, so you've been to a sold out club show.
So yeah.
And you're gonna see Stephen Piercy.
Yeah, well, I already technically saw Stephen Piercy, but yeah, I am gonna.
You're gonna go to the Whiskey A Go Go. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
You're gonna be 12 years old at the Whiskey. Awesome.
I'm really excited.
Can you believe that's an all ages venue?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Get to see the seat that Lemmy sat in.
That's at the Rainbow. Yeah, that's right.
the
Rainbow.
Rainbow.
The Rainbow's about 2 blocks north of there.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of a walk, but that's what you do. You go to both.
Yeah,
And I'm just so excited for that because like I remember like the first time you went there, like the first time you played there, what was that, like 2018?
2019.
2019, yeah. Dude, when I remember, like, after you came back, you were, like, showing me, like, the Motley Crue music videos of, like, them being there. And I was
they
like,
shot the Kickstart My Heart videos at the Whiskey.
And I was,
really?
I was like, okay, I need to be there one day. And so now I'm just like, so now it's been like I've known of the club, and he's been going to the club, and I just want to be there for 4 years now.
It's a tour kickoff or announcement thing too. Right before we played there in 2019, the night before or 2 nights before, Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer played at the Whiskey to announce their tour together. The last time Kiss started their world tour, they did full makeup, full gear at the Whiskey. Whiskey's about the size of the Auto Bar.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. It's a club.
Speaking of world tours, that's another really so funny thing about the stadium tour was that like half of the Motley Crue fans there were all wearing Final Tour shirts from 2015 or whatever.
Everybody's wearing their and
it was that was not the final tour.
Maybe I could do this on the next show or so, but I will give my review of that show about the performances of the bands. Poison blew everybody away. They were great. Joan Jett was great, but nothing special, meaning it's what you would expect from Joan Jett kicking ass. And she had an original Blackheart with her who's like in his 70s, and he was kind of like sitting down behind like a keyboard with a tambourine, looking I'm not putting the dude down, looking every minute of his age. I don't know. He talked to the crowd, and he just wanted to talk about how cool DC was and Discord Records and Fugazi and stuff. Yeah.
And dude, I just also wanted to say, I expected going into the Motley Crue there for Vince Neil to sound so terrible because of his
every
last
video
tour.
You've ever seen.
Right.
Dude, but he didn't sound bad. Like, compared to the last tour, like, you could see that he definitely, like, worked on it. It wasn't like in the 2015 tour where he would, like, gasp at the end of every sentence and, like, sound like he's going to pass out.
Yeah, there's definitely been times where he wasn't matching the backing tracks.
Right.
You know, he's not singing.
Fell off the stage. But he did a good job. I mean, it was in the pouring rain. Anything would be. Def Leppard. Boring.
Wow.
The only song I cared about was Pour Some Sugar
I'm sure at one point I think they played 3 ballads in a row.
No, I think they played like 6. They played so many ballads. Like I literally
everything
felt like I was gonna go
everything
sleep.
was just overproduced and over.
Oh, really? Wow.
Like I'm just like, how can you feel it? Yeah, I can feel it. I feel like going to the bathroom. And they played some early stuff. Like, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was still Def Leppard.
Yeah, it was
but
just
it was
compared to Poison.
I wasn't going to rush out and see him
Motley
again.
Crue. It wasn't like Motley Crue where we needed to go to like the floor.
We're staying an hour and a half into a monsoon to watch them.
Dude, that's why I was so mad that the one night we went to, Def Leppard wasn't headlining.
Yeah, because they were alternating every other night.
We would have been able to see Motley Crue's entire set, but instead we had to leave like halfway through.
That's right. All right, we went way over our allotted time today, and I was going to try to make this a short one. Well, we'll see you next time right here on Big Curve Podcast. For Trampas, how you doing?
I'm
gonna have a good night.
I'm better.
We're back. We're back from COVID. Yeah. We're back from COVID. Oh, and I think since we did our first show, my little man had COVID too.
Oh, did you?
He
really?
went through it. Yeah, barely any symptoms, but it drove him crazy. Oh, I talked about that earlier. He just, he had his guitar and an electronic kit in his room, and he just played music.
Yeah.
I got my 7-string literally the day of.
Yeah, he realized he had COVID the day he got his 7-string.
So I just played the 7-string.
We'll talk about 7-string sometimes.
Yeah, I was locked in a room. I was putting my pedal board together.
Yeah, see, there you go. All right, we'll see you guys later. Listen to the music show on Mixcloud. Bye.